All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the 147-pound division, where word is coming around about Errol Spence Jr. and how Errol Spence Jr. is in training for the fight with Terrence Crawford. Let's talk about what people are saying. People are saying he's looking like, and what's going to happen and when this is going to take place in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the 147-pound division, where we've got some updates coming around. Errol Spence Jr. is out there training, according to sources, getting ready for the fight with Terrence Crawford. And we're getting a better idea of when the fight will take place. Also, it is apparent, according to sources, Errol Spence is looking like a monster in training, looking much, much better, looking much more healthy as he gets ready for that fight at whatever weight class it will be. Before I get into the details of it, though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And if you're a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you so much for continuing to support the channel. It means a ton. Excuse me. Early in the morning video, still gonna have a little bit of sleep in my throat and in my nose, so had to take a sip of water during the video. All right, let's get into this though. All right, so there's pictures circulating around Errol Spence Jr. Some of the ones that I've seen look like they were old. Other ones that I've seen, I don't really know what they're looking at in it, but in what they're saying. However, word is out there that Errol is back in training, getting ready for the Terrence Crawford fight, and then he is looking much, much stronger in the training camp ahead of this fight for Terrence Crawford. We know that the rematch is going to take place. Terrence Crawford himself, who's been much more verbal in between this fight and the last than Errol Spence Jr. has confirmed as much and said that they are still haggling over the weight class and what the weight class will be, even though I doubt very much that there's going to be much haggle to that. I don't really know what choice Terrence Crawford has in that. However, and also, I don't really know what difference it will really make if it's at for Terrence, whether or not it's at 147 or 154, because you really have to give Terrence Crawford as a prohibitive favorite going into that fight, considering what happened in the last fight. Now, as you know, Terrence Crawford dominated the fight pretty much from the second round. From the second round on, I think he might have dropped Errol in the third round. Wound up where the fight got stopped, something in the ninth round, because it was pretty apparent that it was just getting really, really ugly. Errol's face was swelling up bad. He was bleeding with even kind of a funny colored bleed coming out of his nose from very early in the fight. So I don't know whether or not whatever weight class it's in is really going to dictate what it is, what goes on in the fight. I do think, though, that the only chance that it's going to be that this fight really turns out differently is if what people say is true about Errol Spence being injured going into the fight. Because if he was injured going into the fight, then absolutely, positively, that can affect you. Now, there are a lot of Errol Spence, I think it's PBC haters out there that say that, that's an excuse for Errol. That's an excuse for Errol. It's not an excuse for Errol. You're either injured or you're not injured, and it has nothing to do with Terrence Crawford. It doesn't take anything away from Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford, the only thing that you can judge Terrence Crawford by is Terrence Crawford and what he does in the ring with the fighter in front of him, period. He gets full credit for being the undisputed champion. In my opinion, he's without a doubt the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the world, period. But when you look at what Errol Spence Jr. looked like in that particular fight, he just looked very, very bad. He looked bad walking into the ring, he looked bad in retrospect because, what do you call it? What's that phrase? Hindsight is 2020. And what hindsight is 2020 means is like once things happen and you kind of do a post-mortem on them, you can see a lot of things that you didn't see in real time. And that's not an excuse. That's just a fact. If you look back and say, well, considering how he looked in the ring, were there any other signs before that made it look like things were a little bit off? One of the things that I knew, where I believe that people knew things were really off, was the fact that what Andre Ward said right before the fight and how he was guaranteed, how he said, oh, I thought this was a close fight before, but I guarantee you either one or the other guy is going to get knocked out. And he had this really excited look on his face. And I don't care how, he is most definitely closer to Terrence Crawford than he is to Errol Spence. And the reason that I say that is because you see Andre Ward with Terrence Crawford a lot. You never see Andre Ward with Errol Spence. I don't really think Errol Spence really does that whole boxing circle very much, period. And definitely Andre Ward is much more connected to ESPN, having worked for ESPN for several years after his retirement, where Terrence Crawford was fighting. And before that, before his retirement, he was fighting on HBO on the same network as Terrence Crawford there. But that was the biggest sign to me that something was a little bit funny because of that. But if the injury is healed and it is not like a recurring thing and it's not what do you call it? Residual neurological damage. I think that's what that particular health professional had said about it on a video that I was really not happy with, because I thought that was professionally irresponsible to do that, to diagnose somebody that you've not actually seen yourself, and then to do it in public without permission. It's a double whammy. Shouldn't have done it. But whatever. I think those are the big issues, not necessarily the weight class. And if Errol can make the weight at 147, and those are not the problems, I think you'll still see a much better fight. But whatever it is, we are without a doubt going to see a fight. Whether or not Errol is looking strong and all that, that's what people always say before fights. They always say that. They're looking good, they're looking strong, the weight is easy to make, all of that type of stuff. But, the proof is in the pudding when you see it in the fight. And I know we're going to see the fight, and I definitely think that there's going to be a better performance out of Errol, because if nothing else, Errol's been in the ring with Terrence Crawford already, and he's seen how he fights. He got a feel for it, and he should be able to make adjustments in training. Derek James should be able to make adjustments in training with sparring partners and the like, having seen it. But I do believe that that camp does not believe that they were probably dead men walking into the ring. And some of the things that Errol said in the face-off with Terrence, when he was like, yeah, the belts are important, I want the money. And he said, you're going to be thanking me. You're going to be thanking for me after this, that type of thing. I think we'll get a much better situation the next time around. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.